welcome to the Writer Inspired Show, the Deep Dive series. I'd like to sort of announce Sherry Burckhardt. I'll probably pronounce your name wrong. Apologies if I have, to the show. Thank you very much for joining us. I really appreciate your time.
Oh, this will be fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, as I say, I've done quite a few of these, and I love doing these and helping people. So with no further ado, I'll go straight into it. And if it's okay with you, if you just sort of talk to me a little bit about who you are, what books you've got out, and then I'll start asking questions from that. Does that sound okay?
Okay, yeah.
Okay,
So
awesome.
actually, I don't write under my own name. I write under Dianne Burckhardt.
Okay.
And I write a historical fiction Western serial that's actually based on the old cliffhanger movie shorts that they used to show at the movie theaters before the main feature.
Okay, that sounds cool.
So these are like a novella series, and everything ends in a cliffhanger, and then the next book picks it up like a little bit back before the end of the first one and gives you a different perspective on the ending, and then goes on from there. So it's just kind of a fun way to do it, and I've even incorporated a sort of a trivia thing. I hide like the first chapter of the next book somewhere on my webpage where there's like a hidden link, and you have to answer a trivia question to get the answer to open that page.
That sounds really cool. I like that.
So yeah, I just try and make it interesting and fun. So it's something different.
Did you with the ending going into the next book? Do you do it from different character perspectives? Is that how you do it, or?
Yeah, a lot of times I do. Like for the very first book, it was this woman trying to get some children onto the orphan train that the head of the orphanage did not want on there. And the very last scene, she's coming face to face with that woman.
Right.
And so the next book, I back it up and I show it from the perspective of the head of the orphanage and what she's thinking and why that meeting is so different than what you thought from the first book. So yeah, I try and do it like a different twist and give a whole different idea about what happened.
Yeah, I like that twist. I like that. That's pretty cool. So go straight into the question. So what's your vision for your books? Where do you want to take? So in 5 years' time, where do you want to be with your books and with your career?
Well, actually, this first series was just kind of a test for myself to see if I could still do this kind of thing. Okay. Because 12 years ago, I have a degree in journalism, and I actually worked as a journalist for a while, and I had like a beginning writing career. But then I had an accident, and I had to have 7 surgeries in 6 months, and 6 of those were brain surgeries. And I had a lot of serious brain trauma and still have brain damage. And it caused a lot of problems with my cognitive abilities, and I lost a lot of my language skills.
Okay.
And so I started writing as therapy to help try and rebuild all that. And whenever I first started writing like books again, I got a job as a ghostwriter because I figured I could write the book, and if the person who was buying it didn't like it, they just didn't have to pay me. So if I wasn't any good, there was like no harm done. And then whenever I decided, okay, those ghostwriting ones went okay, and I would do ones for myself, I still wanted to do it under a pen name. So in case I was really horrible, I could just walk away and nobody would know it was me. But the funny thing is, it's like the first book in this series has already won a couple of literary awards and nobody knows it's me. So it's kind of like a catch-22.
That's awesome.
So that's one reason why I'm starting to do more interviews and starting to come out and tell people it's like, no, I'm actually the person writing these. Because now I know that they're actually well received and I can do this. I'm letting people know it's actually me.
And it's got to give you quite a bit of confidence as well, mustn't it? The fact that actually, you're saying that you had brain damage and you've had a lot of surgeries and stuff, and thinking, am I not very good? And actually, these are doing awards, and these are doing well. That should be actually, I'm on the right course. That should give you.
Yeah, because I've always loved writing, and that was like my chosen career. I wanted to be a writer, and I spent years, building up that career, and then to have it suddenly just crash with all the surgeries, it was devastating. It was really hard to come back from that. And it took years to be able to get to where I could even have a conversation like this. Because right now it's like stress still has some very bizarre effects on me because of the brain damage that I have. Okay. Um, I actually came to London. My husband brought me there for my 49th birthday, and we went and saw No Man's Land at, what was it, the Wyndham Theatre? I can't think. It's in London. And, Sir Patrick Stewart and Sir Ian McKellen were stars of that. And afterwards, my husband took me around to the stage door. And Patrick Stewart came out first, and he saw my tape. And I just wanted to say, thank you so much. This was like the best birthday ever. And he's like, oh, it's your birthday? Many happy regards for your birthday. And I got so happy that Patrick Stewart just told me happy birthday that I had a neurological episode.
Okay.
Because just strong emotions will do that to me. And I lost the ability to speak for 15 minutes.
Okay.
And I mean, so I never know how any kind of stressful situation is going to affect me. I can, learn, I can lose my vocabulary. I can just not be able to speak. And so trying to do interviews like this, when I know it's being recorded and it's just going to be uploaded without editing, that's one of those things that I'm always like, please do not let me lose the ability to speak. That would make for a horrible interview.
Yeah, it's obviously, if it does anything like that, we can always go back over this. I'm quite happy to do stuff like that, and please don't worry. I'm here to sort of help you and stuff like that. But is there anything that you do yourself to sort of like manage that? Because obviously, extreme emotions, or they must have that sort of anxiety and worry that something is going to happen. So, have you got anything that any tools that you use to sort of like not sort of keep yourself on the plateau, because you still need those highs and lows, but to sort of deal with them if they do arise?
So yeah, actually, it's kind of stressful in itself. I do have to try and keep all of my emotions on sort of like a middle keel, where I don't let it get too extreme. Because it doesn't matter if it's happy or sad or angry. If it's too extreme, it can cause problems. So I have to try and keep everything at just sort of a mellow level. And I've done meditating, learned breathing techniques. I have things that I listen to, and I do the grounding kind of exercises, or 5 things you can see, and I do all of those whenever I feel like a sudden burst of like anxiety and have to bring it back down real quick. So I mean, I do have like a whole toolbox that I've developed over like the last 10-12 years to manage all of this. And plus it helps. My husband has a couple of degrees, and one of them is emotional therapy. So I literally live with a therapist.
That's ideal.
Yeah, perfect.
As far as the meditation and stuff is concerned, so how often do you meditate? How long do you meditate? Is that the main one that you use to help you?
Actually, it's like I'll do it a little bit every day. I mean, maybe even if it's just like being conscious of my breathing for like a minute or two. Okay. I have a thing on my watch. My husband bought me an Apple Watch that has a thing that every once in a while it pings and it tells you it's okay, it's time to notice your breathing. And just doing that a couple of times a day actually just helps keep a lot of the just everyday stress down. Okay. I mean, it's amazing how just doing like a minute of conscious breathing can really help.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. One thing that I do, I meditate quite a lot, and in the past, I've suffered. I don't know if you know too much about Beam, but I've been sort of going through 35 years of anxiety. I lost my brother at 10 when I was 10 years old, and he was 20 months old, and I blame myself for it. It's a long story. And then 5 years ago, I was a victim of an armed robbery. To work. So I can relate to extremes of anxiety and stuff like that. But what I did with my meditation, I went sort of like almost 2 years, I think it was, with meditating, but I didn't do enough of it. I only did sort of like what I call sort of the surface thing, just to keep myself at bay, which I didn't realise until the last sort of 5 or 6 weeks, where I'm doing sort of an hour and a half, 2 hours a day, and that works really great for me. There's another thing as well that I've learned over the last year, and I don't know whether it was to help you, but have you tried OM harmonics?
I'm sorry, what was that?
OM harmonics.
I'm not familiar with that.
Okay. It's music, but it's binaural beats, and it's done by Mind Valley. And basically, you get one frequency going one ear when you listen to it, one frequency going the other ear, and your brain makes the right frequency, and it basically naturally lowers your anxiety and makes you feel blissed out. So it may be something that you can look at, but again, it may give you that extreme of being too high, too happy. So it may be something to look at. But again, I do it when I'm doing housework and stuff like that. I wouldn't recommend it in the car because it hasn't known to knock me out. You don't want to be driving and that happens. But I say it would be something else that might be able to help you too.
One of the things that I've been looking at is the Tibetan singing bowls, because I have found some of those, the lower tones have an incredible, like, instant calming effect on me when I hear them. And so I've been, checking out the different tones, trying to find the one that I really want. But it's just amazing how that sort of, like, it gives you that vibration feeling when you listen to it. There's some of those that's like immediately I'm just like so much calmer. It's like, so I want one of those in the house.
I'm sure they'll be expensive, but they'll be well worth it.
Mm-hmm.
I want to push you again on the question about vision. So in 5 years' time, how do you want to feel? Where do you want to be? Is it a case of you want, be New York Times bestselling author, for example, or you want to help thousands of people? Where do you want to do, and how do you want to feel?
Actually, my main goal, I would love, because I really just love writing. And if I could make enough money off of this just to not have to do anything else but write, that would be perfect. Because it's like, I only have one bill that I need to pay, which is my student loan from the United States still.
Okay.
And if I just had enough money coming in from that, because right now it's like I'm taking out money from my 401k to pay that one while I'm not working. And if I could get enough money from the books to be able to pay that and not have to keep touching my retirement money, I would be thrilled. It's like, it would be nice to be like on the best-selling authors list, but that's actually not really like a major goal of mine. I just want to have people read it, actually get reviews, be able to enjoy it. I mean, that's actually my main goal, is just to be able to enjoy just being a writer.
No, that's fair enough.
Yeah, because I found, like, I've had jobs where I was making really good money and, could buy anything that I wanted. But I've never had a job that I've just really enjoyed doing it. And that's what I really want now.
Well, would you think that writing is your calling? Something that, would you say that is?
For as long as I can remember, there was like two things that I wanted to be. I wanted to be a teacher and a writer. It was like, that was all I ever really wanted to be, was one of those two. And I've been a teacher, and so now I want to be a writer. So I really just wanted to complete both of those goals. And I want to do them well. Success really isn't like the goal, because I figure if I do it really well, success will come with that.
Yeah.
But my focus is to do it well and actually put out really good books. And one of the best things that people have told me about my books is that they make them cry. It's like, so many people have told me, it's like, oh my God, I cried so much at this scene and this scene and that scene. And it's like, I just love that I'm actually touching people on such an emotional level that it brings that out of them, that they care that much about the characters, that they actually start crying for them. It's like, that's like the best thing that people can tell me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, when I started asking these questions, and I've been doing sort of, I think about 7 or 8 of these now, I expected people to go, I want to be New York Times bestseller, I want to be this, I want to be that. But I've actually found that most people, that's not what they want. Mm-hmm. What you just described is pretty much what they want to do. They want their words, they want to touch them and inspire them or mean something to them. And I say that really surprised me. So I say, that's fair play to you. We have this power that our words can make a massive difference to somebody's life. In their darkest time or whatever, we can make them laugh, we can make them cry. So fair play. I think that's a great sort of like noble thing to have, if I'm honest, and something that you will strive to do. And I think you'll be able to do that.
Well, and one of the things that's really kind of interesting too, my first book especially, I took a lot of things from my own family history, from stories from my dad's childhood, and put them into the book. And the idea for the book actually came from a friend of mine, his aunt. She came to Kansas on the orphan train. It was either her or her mother. I can't even remember now. But I remember the story of how it happened and who she was adopted by and how they treated her. And my dad lived in a children's home in Tulsa, Oklahoma for a while. And the stories that he told me of that, and the moments that really have touched people and made them cry are the ones that I took from those stories, where it was actually based on these real events, where my dad had one time when he was punished at the children's home, they used a cane on him. And I described that to a little girl in the story, and almost everybody, every one of my friends who read the book, that's the scene that made them cry, was when she got caned. And I'm like, that actually happened to my dad. And then they cried again when they found out that it really happened to somebody. So again, just, that's incredible that, sharing those stories can really reach people like that.
Yeah. Let's say, as far as getting your books out there and getting that visibility, talk a little bit about strategy for a second. So what have you tried? Obviously, you're talking about sort of finance and stuff at the moment, and understandably with COVID and everything that's going on, it is quite challenging. But what have you tried so far?
Well, I have several different places like All Author and BookBub and that kind of stuff that I have my books on. And I have, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, author pages. I don't have any budget for buying advertising, but every once in a while, it's like I have bought, what was it, Top Shelf book magazine. I bought an ad in there whenever a book was getting ready to come out, and I try and, since I live in Germany and my books are all in English, it's kind of hard to do anything locally. So I've been trying. I'm supposed to be coming to the UK. I'm up for an award in the UK. And I was hoping that whenever I'm there, I could also go around to some bookstores and see about maybe doing some networking there. And I've been doing interviews in my hometown of Wichita, and I'm supposed to go back and do an author signing the next time I go back to visit. But, I've been doing a few podcasts and other interviews, but there's not a whole lot to really get for an indie author to be able to get really a big audience. It's expensive. and I don't have the money for that right now.
And I agree with that. It's expensive, not just in finances, but expensive in time that you need to invest in doing it. I totally agree with that. Apart from perhaps setting a profile up to get people to sign up to your email list, I think you've pretty much covered everything. As far as the UK is concerned, Waterstones are, be pretty good, and WH Smith's seem to be quite. They've changed it, the format a little bit recently, but WH Smith seem to be the two places. I don't know whether you've probably looked into this already, but in the UK, they're the two places that probably, you have.
Yeah, Waterstone, I've been trying to get that one.
Waterstone, WH Smith, so the best places. But again, I've looked at independent ones as well, around wherever you want to take yourself. But I think that's probably your best bet of what you're doing. I think it's probably your best, if you spend money on Amazon ads, BookBub ads, stuff like that, you're looking at thousands of pounds, and there is no guarantee that you're going to build anything. The only thing I will suggest, and again, it does cost a little bit of money, but book funnels have $15. You can sort of like build your newsletter up, but also they have a barcode that you can use. So if you go into these events and stuff like that, you can get your audience to scan it, and they'll get a free novella or whatever lead magnet you've got, and then that automatically get the email list. So that's something to consider. It's entirely up to you, but just an invitation, maybe that might help you in some way.
So I actually do have QR codes made up for all of my website and all of this stuff, because I do have a website for Dianne Burckhardt, and I have another one for Dianne Burckhardt, which is my other name that I use. Because luckily with my actual legal name, which is Sherry Diane Stevens Retamal Burckhardt, I have enough names that I can mix and match and come up with a ton of pen names.
Okay, so that you don't need that either. So that's cool. That's not a problem at all. So a question that I like to ask my my authors is, what legacy would you like to leave? So, in the future, what would you like to do?
I think I would like people just to remember that it's like here, I was actually at one point going through all my surgeries. I died for a while and they expected me to not recover at all. And then when I did actually come back and recover, they told me you'll never be able to do anything. You need to go on like disability, just take narcotics for the rest of your life and, deal with the pain. And I told my doctors, like, if you don't know the answers, I'll find my answers myself. And I did. I changed my diet, I changed my habits, and I don't take any narcotics for the pain. I was able to recover much farther than any of my doctors ever said was even possible for me to do. And I would hope that that would be an inspiration for people, that they would see, don't let people tell you that you can't do what you want to do. Yeah. Just because they can't figure out how you can do it doesn't mean you can't. If you want it bad enough, you will find a way to get it. And that's what I did. I wanted to have a career. I wanted to be a writer again, and I found a way to make it happen. I may not make money at it yet, but I'm doing it, and I enjoy it.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. That's really powerful. And as I say, it just shows what determination and drive can achieve. Mm-hmm. You should be proud of what you've done up to this point. Challenge-wise, so what's your biggest challenge at the moment? Obviously, we have discussed, what we do, but anything else that anxiety that it's causing you any issues or anything like that, or you've probably got the tools to deal with it. But is there any other challenges you face?
One of the things that I have not figured out how to control yet, I have found that I will stutter when I type.
Okay, that's interesting.
Because people will, whenever you stutter when you talk, you'll sit there and repeat the same word. When I type, I will type the same word several times. And I don't realize that I do it until I go back and read it. Okay. And I'll find a line that says, and then he, and then he, and then he, and then he, and then it'll go. It's like my brain gets stuck and just keeps like a record, how they used to get stuck and keep repeating until you push the needle. Yeah. It's like my brain does that until it goes on. And I haven't figured out how to recognize this and catch it and make it stop yet. So I just have to have a really good editor, which thank God I do.
Is there a particular feeling that you have when you're writing that? Is there any sort of things that sort of like trigger points that when you're doing that?
Nothing that I notice. I mean, because I don't notice when it happens. I only notice it whenever I go back to read it. So it's not anything that I can figure out what causes it. And it doesn't seem to be any patterns, because I'm really good about trying to figure out my triggers and cope for them. But this one has got me stumped. I don't know how to recognize this one.
Yeah, I'm sure obviously you've got a therapist, therapist as well, which is awesome.
Yeah.
But, he asked, is there any sort of thoughts you have in your head when you're doing it? Is there anything at all that possibly?
No, actually, I kind of think it's more like, I don't remember, when I was young, they used to call them petit mal seizures. I think now they call them absence seizures, where it's kind of like you just sort of shut down for a second. Okay. And then it just like picks up. It's kind of like having like an epileptic seizure, only you just freeze. And for some reason, it's like if I'm typing, I just keep repeating the same thing until it goes away. So I don't know how to recognize when those are going to hit, because I don't know that I'm doing them.
For me, if that's, it sounds like that you're not going to be able to find what they are. So it might be a case of sort of like going, okay, that's just who I am, and that's what I have to do. And as long as it gets caught by you later on, and your editor picks it up if you miss it, then I think it's kind of sort of like, okay.
Yeah. Well, and I've had to learn to do that with a lot of things, because there's some weird stuff that I do that I have no idea why it happens. There was one month that I called my husband and my dog Seamus. Every time I went to say their names, it came out Seamus. I don't know why. My husband's name is Pedro. My dog's name is Shaggy. So it's like they're not even close. And I had a cat when I was in high school that his name was Seamus. but that's the only place that name could have come from. And that was like 30 years ago. So I have no idea why this is clicking, because this happened like 2 years ago. And for like a whole month, every time I tried to say either one of their names, it came out Seamus. And I didn't realize I was doing it. My husband told me I was doing it. It's in my head, I was saying Pedro and Shaggy. But somewhere between here and here, there was a disconnect, and it was coming out something else, and I didn't even hear it. And so I just had to learn, it's like, I'm brain damaged, deal with it. You know? It's like, there's nothing else I can do.
Yeah, no, I totally understand. I think you're probably the same with your typing. I think just a case of sort of like, it's who I am now, and just move on rather than worrying too much about it. Is there any times where you sort of like feel that, you know, it's too difficult for you, or is there any opportunities where you'd like to sort of like explore? If that makes sense. Is there any challenges that you feel that you'd love to sort of like try and find a way around it?
I actually, I have always, ever since I can remember, if there is something that scares me, I want to do it even more, because I hate the fact that being afraid of something would make me not do it.
Yeah.
So if somebody tells me I can't do it, or I'm afraid to do it, it just makes me want to do it that much more. It's like, even after the brain surgeries, I flew a glider through the Rockies. I'm afraid of airplanes. I'm afraid of heights. I went skydiving. You know, there's always, anytime that there's something that scares me, it just makes me want to do it that much more, because it makes me mad that I would ever let fear keep me from doing something that I really want to do. Because I know from what I had to live through, it's like, you get one shot. And if you're lucky, it's like me, this is actually my second time around, because I did die for a while. So these are all bonus years as far as I'm concerned. And I don't want to ever miss out on anything. I don't want to get to the end of my life again and think, I wish I would have done that. Because that was the one thing that I realized whenever I did die the first time, that I didn't think of all of the stupid things I did, all of the mistakes that I made. I didn't think about, you know, any time that I might have been embarrassed or, you know, wish that I hadn't done something. That never came to mind. What I thought about was, I wish I had time to still do this or to do that. I wish, you know, I could go out and, you know, write the book that I always wanted to write. So I know now I don't ever want to have to think that the next time that I'm at death's door. I want to sit back and go, I can't believe I didn't get killed doing that. You know, I want to sit there and think about, wow, that was really stupid. I can't believe I made it through that. It's like, that was such a fun time. You know, I want to have those thoughts.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to sit there and think, it's like, I wish I would have been brave enough to do that. I think that's a horrible waste.
No, I agree. And it sounds like what you do is you use it as a barometer. So if something scares you, that's where I'm going. That's the path. That's awesome. Dianne Burckhardt calls it mortality motivation. So when, you know, you've seen death and you want to do something different, you know, it really is inspiring. And to say something I've been through myself. And the three things he always looks at, Brendan, I don't know whether you know Dianne Burckhardt, but it goes, when people are near the end of their life, you know, they know that they're going to die, they say, did I live? Did I love? Did I matter? They're the three questions. Anything else, you know, I had this little argument with my husband here, I had this argument with a girl, you know, that none of that matters. You know, it's those three questions that you look at the end of your life, and I think you've answered them in what you've done. So, yeah, that is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to live. I'm going to live massively. I'm going to love. I'm going to matter. And obviously with your book, so, you know, I think you've got the drive and determination, that what it takes as well, and the perseverance to keep going. I think that's awesome. I mean, it should be inspiring for anybody sort of listening to this.
So yeah, I was one of those people that I like the idea that I didn't want to, you know, slowly crawl into the grave. I wanted to skid in sideways with, you know, people going, look out.
The bungee, you know. Okay, so is there any questions you'd like to ask me?
How did you decide to start doing these interviews?
it's a really good question, actually. I like to help people, and I get a big kick out of seeing people develop and be inspired. And the most important thing for me is seeing other people being happy. So to cut a long story short, I've been a coach as a manager for decades, and I wanted to help other people. And Rich Litvin, I don't know whether you know Rich Litvin. He's a very, very famous coach, and he was talking in his group about setting up podcasts. And to cut a long story short, I set mine up, and I said, well, how can I help other people? I've got this group, but how can I do that myself? And it's just come to sort of fall in its path like this, really. I want to help somebody. How do I help authors? Well, let's do this. But more for me as well, I didn't want to do, right, okay, this is a strategy, and let's just talk about books and other stuff. I wanted to be a bit more deeper. That makes sense? So that I'm not just sort of like helping you for now, and hopefully I'm helping people for the future. Some of the stuff, I don't know whether you know Tony Robbins.
Oh yeah.
He's just. I've watched it. I'm Not a Guru, which is something about 5 or 6 weeks ago I watched, and that was sort of like how he helped people and just inspired them. That's what I got from it, and that's what I want to try and do with mine. At the start of my journey, yes, I know quite a bit, but like we all are really. We're learning as we go, and that's really what I want to do when I help more and more people with this. So that's why I'm doing this. I want to coach some people as well, and there's people I've started to see that I really like to help. And you can sort of and I think that because I'm quite intuitive with people and I can pick up people's character, sometimes people don't realise, and you can sort of home in. But the last thing about this, for your question, I've got a life coach myself. So I'm somebody that sort of wants to improve myself, and I can see insights, and that's really what I do. I want people to be happy, in a nutshell. To answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay, so sorry.
I've seen a lot of the I can't think of how to say this though.
That's fine.
I've seen things on your group, the Successful Writers Club. Sorry, my allergies are driving me crazy, making my eyes water and everything. Where you have like different projects that are coming up, and different like classes and seminars and things like that you're doing with people. And it's hard to like keep up. You've got so much stuff going on.
Yeah, well, to be honest with you, my brain, and it's something that I've had to really focus on over the last few years. My brain goes at 1,000 miles an hour, and in retail, I have to be at that pace. That's got to be done. That's got to be done. Boom, 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 gone. And that's what my life coach is helping me with, to slow down. But what I'm trying to bring in, and I've tried to slow it down with the Successful Writers Club as well, that where Wednesdays, or it's Thursday at the moment, there's a Wednesday workshop, Fridays these lives, and then I'm going to do little pods on a Sunday. It may be a case that I cut it back a little bit more, because I did find that, about 3 months ago, that I'm firing this loads of stuff and people go, whoa! Look, we are in a pandemic, but I can't keep up with this. But I'd like for people to sort of come in and out when they get an opportunity, really, and pick and choose which things are important to them. So there might be cases, actually, this Canva project that I'm going to be doing, I'm not really interested in that. That's not a problem. I haven't got a problem with that. And actually, do you know what? I'm not really interested in that post that you put on there. Again, that's cool. I just want people to pick and choose and be able to do it. So I'm trying to get the right medium, but at the moment, probably going a bit too 100 miles an hour still. But yeah, I'm just want to help people, and I keep doing it. And I actually found that my engagement in the group at the moment is just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. Over 50% increase over the last 28 days, which is amazing. And I want to help other people. But the main thing is, I don't put loads of posts that have got words in. They're just questions, because I want people to think. And that's really what I want to do, and that coach them that way. That's the answer to your question.
That's very cool.
Is there any other questions you'd like to ask me before we finish?
Nothing is coming to mind at the moment.
No problems. You say if you've got any questions, you're more than welcome to ask me afterwards, and I'll happily go through it. This is going to be obviously put up on YouTube, and then in the future I'm going to use this actually as a proper podcast. So this is going to be not the video, the actual words, if that's the right word. Podcast as well. I'm going to be doing all that, but that's the future. I'm so busy myself. I have to sort of plan what needs to be done. Thank you very much. I've really enjoyed this, and I think I think that our viewers and our audience will really be inspired by what you've gone through, and to show people that actually that it isn't an excuse. I can't do it because of these reasons isn't a good enough excuse. You know, if you've achieved it, if people have told you, you know, professionals said, you know, you're going to have to think about this, you're not going to have to do that anymore, and you've gone, I'm going to do it. You know, that should be inspiring enough in this audience. I think that'll be really helpful. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And as I say, I'll speak to you in the group.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.